Meanwhile, joining us at this point of time is Major Mohd Ali Shah, defense expert. Thank you so much, sir, for your patience, taking our time, speaking to us on NewsX. I'm going to start by the visuals that we tracked from on the ground where these three terrorists were neutralized. Let's put out those visuals on our screens for context to help our viewers understand what exactly I am getting at. That's the visual that we are tracking for you. Starting with the visuals, sir, what we saw on the ground were these three terrorists with guns in their hands. But more importantly, we have been able to understand that there are on the ground workers who I would like to personally call terrorist sympathizers who gave ration to these three terrorists who were involved in such a dastardly attack. What exactly does that then tell us? What exactly is the situation on the ground and where exactly should our focus be?
Saveri, it's a very, very good question. Firstly, I would like to congratulate our armed forces for conducting a very, very successful operation. And it was, yes, no doubt, it was done by the special forces, by the Rashtriya Rifles, and we shouldn't forget our very, very important fighting force, the Assam Rifles. In fact, a very underplayed fighting force, a great fighting force, in fact. My own battalion from the Assam Rifles was in the valley for a couple of years. In fact, they did extremely well. So now, one message India has conveyed, that anyone who does a terror strike at us, anyone who looks at us with bad intention, we are going to avenge, revenge, and we will finish those perpetrators. We will not let them go scot-free, and that's what we have done. In fact, Operation Mahadev has been an example of great success. We have achieved it. We had avenged, we had sworn to ourselves that we will not let the Pahalgam killers go scot-free, and we have got them, and we've got them right. So the very fact is, again, when an army operation is called in, we rely a lot on the intelligence network. We have to get hard int. We have to be tracking. You have to find the right opportune moment to strike and to strike hard. And ultimately, like for example, we've had a lot of operations earlier. The army has done a lot of operations earlier. I have been part of many operations in J&K and in the northeast part of India. So the element of surprise is very, very important. Whenever an attack is launched, whenever a raid is launched, or whenever a strike is launched, you have to make sure that the the target is totally spellbound and is totally surprised that this action has taken place. So I think the armed forces, when I say armed forces, I put everyone, the special forces, the army, the paramilitary, everyone, whoever was part of this operation. In fact, they have done a commendable job, and I commend them once again on this. Asabri.
Absolutely, sir. My second question to you, and I really want your assessment on that front, is that Pahalgam terror attack took place on 22nd April. These terrorists have been neutralized on 28th July. For the better half of 90 days, they were in the forested area. They were being supplied with ration. We can, of course, see that on our screens, including Pakistani chocolates. But I want to understand from you, sir, the very fact that these terrorists were in a hideout for 90 days after the Pahalgam terror attack, did not try to even go back to Pakistan from where their voter ID cards have been accessed and recovered. Is it then a leap to imagine or say that they were perhaps in the process of orchestrating another attack? What's your assessment?
Right. Yes, with your first question, you mentioned about the overground workers and about the sympathizers of the terrorists who had supplied them, who had given them food, shelter, clothing, and who had shown them the way. Of course, they need to be nabbed, and in fact, the entire network, whoever sympathizes with these terrorists, has to be brought to the book, plain and simple. And secondly, were they midway, or were they planning on the attack? I think so. It could be very much possible, because the perpetrators who did this would have gone totally underground and they wouldn't have dared to come up. The very fact is that they showed up. They thought they could get away from there 90 days, and that's almost 3 months. And so they 100%, they would have been on the way of planning on the attack. And I commend the armed forces. Again, I mean the special forces, the Rashtriya Rifles and the Assam Rifles as well. In fact, everyone who took part. So why I am stressing on Assam Rifles is because it's a very, very underplayed. People do not talk about it much. In fact, only in the northern part of India, in Manipur or in Nagaland, we talk about the Assam Rifles, but Assam Rifles has also been in the valley, in fact. So the armed forces, they have done a commendable job, and they have preempted the strike, which they could have done, a similar kind of a strike. But then our foreign policies and our terror policy is very, very clear that any terrorist attack on India, on our soil, would be considered as an act of war by any nation from where the nationality of the terrorist belongs. So most certainly, yes, it would have been a very, very daring act. I don't think they would have dared to, but if at all they did, but they were in a planning of such a thing, I think we have done a commendable job by neutralizing them. And secondly, now we should also launch a hunt for the sympathizers, because it's impossible without local support. Without local support, let me tell you, the armed forces cannot function, because we do not get the inputs. Similarly, the terrorists, exactly, if I put myself in that position, similarly, without local support, the terrorists cannot function, because they need that, they need a support when they come from, and the chocolates from the Pakistani chocolates from across. There is no doubt about the fact, that the terrorists who come, they come from across, and they come from Pakistan, and Pakistan is the terror hub. In fact, they do not support terrorism only; they harbor terrorists on soil. Their name should be changed to Atankistan. I don't know why the international community has not declared it as an international terrorist state as yet. They should be declared a terrorist state. There is no doubt about that fact, and there is no iota of doubt. The Pakistani chocolates, let me tell you, because they have my colleagues. We have lived in temperatures and difficult terrains where we have survived only on dry fruits and chocolates. It might sound very, very glamorous to a lot of people. That's why, wow, dry fruit and chocolate. But it is very tough when you have a chocolate or you have only dry fruits for your meals. And day in and day out, that's the only means of survival. It is very tough. Similarly, I think these terrorists, when they have got the raw materials, the support from Pakistan, there is no question there's no doubt about the fact that the Pakistan should be taught a lesson.
Right.
And as we rightly said, our Prime Minister rightly said, Op Sindoor has not halted, only paused.